two really key things that I think will become more prominent and need to become more prominent this year. Again, both have been around forever, but people are starting to realise they're important. First one is page speed, so page load speed of a website. If your site's slow, people will just go. And that's where that 3-second rule comes back.
So what's the optimal page speed? Because I think it's really fast, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like under 3 seconds it needs to load.
Jesus.
And there are exceptions to the rule always and stuff like that, and different audience groups are more, what's the word I'm looking for, more patient than others. But yeah, in essence, it needs to be around that 3-second mark.
That even seems long for the attention span of people, because I know that if I'm, a page takes longer than a second to load, I'm like, click, 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 hello, like my parents, and then they just freeze the whole screen. I'm like, whoops.
But that's what that's their expectations are.
Yeah.
And it even gets worse on mobile, because generally your phone is perhaps slower depending on how you're using it. So speed is just the big thing, and people like Amazon that have done studies, and for every second, they lose. There's a 12% drop-off rate, I think it is.
Whoa!
For online sales. So yeah, for a company like Amazon, you're literally talking billions of dollars a year in lost revenue for every second a page takes to load.
People are ruthless.
Yeah, and they are. It's not, and this isn't stuff that's just someone thinks this. Serious studies have gone into this. So speed is just number one. And that should always be your first priority. And if you're in the business of looking for a new web partner, ask to see their speed stats. That will show you who's good at what they do and who's not. And the second big thing that, again, has been around forever, but is slowly, thankfully, starting to get more prominence and understanding is around accessibility.
Yes.
So obviously people with disabilities, and it's funny, we used to get government website tenders, I'm going back 15, 20 years, so it must be accessible. No one would ever ask. It'd literally be a line they put in a tender doc so they were covered, so their butts were covered so they wouldn't get sacked later. But they'd never ask for you to prove it when you delivered. Never. And this never happened. But slowly organisations are starting to realise the importance. And there are reasons, I think we have a better moral understanding around that. We certainly have a better legal understanding, because there are cases, particularly overseas, where big firms have been sued for huge amounts.
Wow.
Because they've delivered inaccessible sites. Domino's in the US is a recent one. I don't know what the figure was, I can't recall, but they redeveloped their site because they got successfully sued by a customer who couldn't order a pizza. And that's literally what we're talking about. So there's huge legal responsibilities, but the really interesting area is that there is now clear stats that there is huge revenue opportunities if you do develop accessible sites. A recent stat I saw in America, I can't find the Australian data, unfortunately, I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but in America, the annual income of people with disabilities is something like $490 billion. So you're talking an enormous sum of money that people that have disabilities have to spend online. In Australia, 39%, I think it is, of families have someone with a disability. And stats have shown that it's not just people that are disabled themselves that want to have accessible sites. Their friends, their family are obviously so aware of their plight and the hassles that they have with it, that they're also now looking for accessible sites. But the other really important thing is that accessible sites usually mean that they're sites that are built well. So again, they're going to be faster. The way screen readers have to flow through a screen so people that have vision problems can understand what's happening, the structure and order of the page needs to be organised properly. So that at the end of the day, they're just better websites. They're better structured, better built, better organised websites. So there's huge opportunities to get that right and be leaders in the space and do the right thing at the same time. It did used to be that there was a feeling that accessible sites were not as attractive as non. Those days have changed. The technology's evolved, and there really is no excuse these days for not having a fully accessible or very close to accessible website.
Fantastic. So should people be asking their web developers to make sure their site is accessible? Is that something that should be part of it, or is it just a given now?
It's certainly not a given, and if you don't ask, you won't get it. It does have a little bit more to cost, and that's I suppose I should recognise that. And it depends how close you want to get. A lot of organisations, and there's different scales that you can reach, and even just getting close makes a huge difference to people who are disabled. Yeah. So even getting close is, a good web developer should be able to get close out of the box
Right.
If it's just coded well, you should be very close. If you want to go more strict, so that meet all the guidelines, you're probably going to add 10 to 20% to your cost.
Yeah.
But like I just said, there are revenue benefits for doing that anyway.
Yeah.
So, and even from a legal perspective, you're just covering yourself.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you be doing that?
Yeah.
Because if Domino's can get sued because someone can't order a pizza, you could be next.